Taman stood on the bridge of the massive warship and looked at the stars ahead. He had done this 72 times before. Each time was the same. His fleet would arrive at a new world. The aliens would see his ships. They would understand they could not win. Then they would surrender. It was always easy. It was always quick. The Karveth Dominion had ruled the galaxy for 300 years. Every species they met became part of their empire. Some tried to fight at first, but none lasted more than a few hours. The Dominion ships were too strong. Their weapons were too powerful. Resistance was pointless, and every civilization learned this lesson fast. HFY walked up to Taman with a data pad in her hands. She was his tactical officer, and had served with him for 15 years. She knew the pattern as well as he did. Her face showed no concern, only professional calm. "Commander, we are approaching the target system," she said. "The planet is called Earth. The species calls themselves humans. Our scans show they have basic space technology. They have small stations around their planet and a few bases on their closest moon." Taman took the pad and studied the information. The humans had only been in space for about a century. They had simple chemical rockets and basic nuclear power. Their weapons were primitive. They had never met another species before. "This would be the easiest conquest yet. How many ships do they have?" Taman asked. "Approximately 100 small vessels," HFY replied. "Most are cargo ships or research stations. Only 30 appear to be military craft. They carry basic missiles and railguns. Nothing that can penetrate our shields." Taman nodded. The Dominion fleet had 1,000 warships. Each one was 10 times larger than the biggest human vessel. This was not a battle. This was a formality. "Run the simulation," he ordered. HFY activated the tactical computer. The screen showed the Earth system. Blue dots represented human ships. Red dots showed the Dominion fleet. The simulation began. The red dots moved forward. The blue dots scattered. Some tried to fight. The computer showed them being destroyed in seconds. The rest fled or signaled surrender. "Total time 43 minutes. Acceptable," Taman said. "Prepare the standard surrender demand. We will transmit it as soon as we enter their space." On the command deck, other officers went about their duties. No one seemed worried. No one showed excitement. This was just another day of work for the Dominion. Just another world to add to their empire. Admiral Jiho appeared on the communication screen. He was the supreme commander of the Dominion military. His face was old and marked with scars from ancient battles, but those battles were centuries ago. Now there were no real fights, just easy victories. "Commander Taman, report," the admiral said. "We will reach Earth in 6 hours, Admiral," Taman replied. "All systems are ready. The simulation shows complete success within 1 hour of arrival." "Good. I expect this to proceed smoothly. The Council wants this sector secured before the end of the cycle. Do not disappoint them." "Understood, Admiral." The screen went dark. Taman returned his attention to the approaching star. It was a yellow star, ordinary in every way. The third planet from this star held 4 billion humans. Soon they would all be subjects of the Dominion. They would work in Dominion factories. They would mine Dominion resources. They would serve the Empire like every other conquered species. HFY brought up more data on the humans. She showed Taman their history. The humans fought among themselves constantly. Their planet was divided into hundreds of nations. These nations had wars over land, resources, and ideas. Thousands of conflicts in just the last few centuries. "They are violent among themselves," HFY observed, "but that means nothing. Internal conflict does not prepare a species for external threats. When they see our fleet, they will understand how small they are." Taman agreed. He had seen it before. Species that fought brutal wars against each other would still surrender to the Dominion without firing a shot. The scale was too different. No amount of courage or fighting spirit mattered when the enemy had weapons that could destroy entire continents from orbit. The hours passed slowly. The fleet moved through space in perfect formation. Each ship knew its position. Each crew knew its role. The Dominion was efficient. The Dominion was unstoppable. When they reached the edge of the Earth system, sensors picked up the human ships immediately. The vessels were scattered throughout the system. Some orbited Earth, others patrolled near Mars. A few were out near the asteroid belt. "They have detected us," HFY reported. "Their military ships are moving to form a defensive line between us and their planet." Taman watched the tactical display. 30 human warships were gathering together. They arranged themselves in a formation that protected Earth. It was brave. It was foolish. Open a channel to the human fleet, Taemin ordered. The communication officer worked quickly. Within moments, the channel was ready. "This is Commander Taemin of the Karveth Dominion," he said into the transmission. "Your system is now under Dominion authority. You will power down all weapons. You will surrender all military vessels. You will prepare to receive Dominion administrators who will govern your world. If you comply, your people will be integrated peacefully into the Empire. If you resist, you will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to respond." The message was sent on all frequencies. Every human ship would receive it. Every station around Earth would hear it. The message was clear and simple. Submit or die. Taemin expected a response within minutes. Usually, the leaders of a threatened world would contact each other first. They would argue about what to do. Some would want to fight. Others would counsel surrender. In the end, logic always won. Fighting was suicide. Surrender meant survival. But 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then 30. No response came from Earth. "Strange," Haywan said. "They should have replied by now." "Perhaps their governments are still debating," Taemin suggested. "Give them time." 40 minutes passed. Then 50. The Dominion fleet waited patiently. They had nowhere else to be. Time was on their side. Finally, at 58 minutes, a response came through. "This is Fleet Captain Bora of the Terran Defense Initiative," a human voice said. "We have received your demands. We have discussed them with our leaders." "Our answer is no." Taemin blinked. He looked at Haywan. She looked back at him with equal confusion. "Repeat your message," Taemin said. "We may have received it incorrectly." "You received it correctly," Bora replied. "Earth will not surrender. We will not become part of your empire. If you want this world, you will have to take it by force. And we will make you pay for every meter of space you cross." The channel closed. Silence filled the bridge. Haywan was the first to speak. "Commander, they are insane. They cannot possibly believe they can defeat us." Taemin stared at the tactical screen. The 30 human ships remained in formation. They were not retreating. They were not scattering. They were waiting. In 300 years, no one had ever said no to the Dominion. In 72 conquests, not a single species had chosen to fight. The pattern was broken. Something was different about these humans. Taemin felt something he had not felt in decades. Uncertainty. "Battle stations," he ordered. "Prepare to engage." The Dominion fleet moved forward like a wall of metal and death. Each warship was massive, larger than anything humans had ever built. Their weapons charged with energy that could melt mountains. Their shields could withstand nuclear explosions. They had never lost a battle. Taemin watched as his ships approached the human defensive line. The 30 human vessels looked like toys compared to his fleet. Their hulls were thin. Their weapons were simple. They would be destroyed in minutes. "All ships open fire when in range," Taemin commanded. "Target their weapons systems first. Leave their life support intact. We want survivors to tell others about the cost of resistance." The range closed. 1 million kilometers. 500,000. 200,000. Haywan studied her screens. "Commander, the humans are not retreating. They are accelerating toward us." "Foolish," Taemin muttered. "They are making themselves easier targets." 100,000 kilometers. The Dominion ships opened fire. Energy beams cut through space like burning spears. The first shots hit the human ships directly. Taemin expected them to explode or break apart. Instead, the human vessels absorbed the hits. Their armor glowed red-hot but held. They kept coming. "Interesting," Haywan said. "Their armor is more advanced than our scans suggested. But it will not matter. Increase power to weapons." The Dominion fleet fired again, this time with more force. The beams struck harder. Several human ships lost their outer plating. One vessel spun out of control, trailing smoke and debris. But the humans fired back. Missiles launched from every human ship. Hundreds of them. They were not energy weapons like the Dominion used. They were solid metal projectiles moving at incredible speeds. Kinetic weapons. Simple but effective. The Dominion shields stopped most of them. The impacts created bright flashes as the missiles disintegrated against the energy barriers. But some got through. A few found gaps in the shield coverage. They struck Dominion hulls with tremendous force. Alarms blared on the bridge. Damage reports coming in from ships 7, 15, and 23. An officer called out. "Hull breaches on all 3. Casualties reported." Taemin felt a shock of surprise. Casualties already? This was not supposed to happen. The simulation said the humans would be defeated without causing any damage. All ships, evasive patterns, he ordered. Do not let them hit you again. The massive Dominion warships began to move in different directions. But they were not built for agility. They were built for power. The human ships, smaller and faster, darted between them like insects. Captain Bora led the human fleet from her flagship. She had trained for this moment her entire life. Every human military officer had studied ancient Earth wars. They learned from Napoleon, from Sun Tzu, from every great general in human history. They knew they could not match the Dominion in strength. So they would use speed, tactics, and determination. All ship, scatter formation Delta, Bora commanded. Focus fire on their sensor arrays. Blind them. The human vessels split into 3 groups. Each group attacked from a different angle. The Dominion ships tried to track all of them, but their targeting systems were confused. They were programmed for enemies who fought in organized formations, not chaotic swarms. Captain Ye Jun commanded one of the human destroyers. His ship was called the Soul. It was old, built 20 years ago for planetary defense. It was never meant to fight in deep space against aliens, but Ye Jun and his crew pushed it beyond its limits. Bring us in close to that cruiser, Ye Jun ordered. Get under their main guns. The Soul dove toward a Dominion warship that was 10 times its size. Energy beams tried to track it, but the small human ship was too fast. It slipped beneath the enemy vessel and fired all its missiles upward at point-blank range. The explosions ripped through the Dominion cruiser's belly. Secondary explosions followed as ammunition stores ignited. The massive ship began to list to one side, venting atmosphere and debris. First kill, someone on the Soul's bridge shouted. But there was no time to celebrate. Another Dominion ship locked onto the Soul. Energy beams sliced through its engine section. The Soul lost power. Its weapons went offline. Ye Jun looked at his crew. They were young. Some were barely 20 years old. They had families back on Earth. They had dreams and futures. All of that would end in the next few seconds. Emergency power to engines, Ye Jun said quietly. Set collision course with that dreadnought. His crew understood. They did not argue. They had all volunteered for this fight knowing they might not survive. Every human in the fleet had accepted that possibility. The Soul turned toward the nearest Dominion capital ship. Its engines burned at maximum power, pushing the damaged vessel faster and faster. The Dominion crew saw what was happening and tried to destroy the Soul before impact, but it was too late. The Soul struck the dreadnought at full speed. The impact was massive. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Pieces of debris spread in all directions. On the Dominion flagship, Taemin watched in horror as another of his ships died. They are ramming us, Hae-Won said. They are actually ramming us. What kind of species does that? A desperate one, Taemin replied. But even as he said it, he knew that was not quite right. The humans did not seem desperate. They seemed determined. There was a difference. The battle continued for 3 more hours. It was brutal and chaotic. The Dominion fleet destroyed 23 human ships, but they lost 37 of their own vessels. 37 ships, more than they had lost in the previous 300 years of conquest combined. The remaining 7 human ships retreated back toward Earth. They were damaged and low on ammunition, but they were not defeated. Taemin ordered his fleet to hold position. He needed time to assess the damage and regroup. Get me Admiral Jiho, he said. When the Admiral appeared on screen, his face was dark with anger. Explain, Jiho demanded. The humans fought harder than expected, Taemin said carefully. They used unconventional tactics. They seemed willing to sacrifice themselves. I can see the casualty reports, Commander. 37 ships, thousands of crew. This is unacceptable. With respect, Admiral, we still have overwhelming numbers. We can take Earth, it will just take longer than planned. Jiho stared at him for a long moment. I am bringing the reserve fleet. We will crush these humans completely. There will be no survivors, no prisoners. They must be taught what happens when a species defies the Dominion. The screen went dark. Hae-Won looked at Taemin. Commander, something is wrong. What do you mean? We have fought 72 species. All of them surrendered quickly. But these humans, they are different. They fight like they have nothing to lose, or like they have everything to lose. I am not sure which is more dangerous. Taemin nodded slowly. He was thinking the same thing. The pattern had been broken, and he did not know what would happen next. Admiral Jiho arrived with 500 additional warships. The Dominion fleet now numbered over 1,000 vessels. It was the largest military force they had ever assembled. This time there would be no mistakes. This time the humans would be completely destroyed. Jiho took command from his flagship, the Eternal Dominance. It was the most powerful ship in the fleet, armed with weapons that could crack a planet in half. He looked at the small blue world ahead and felt only contempt. "Commander Taemin," Jiho said, "you will lead the first wave. Destroy any human ships that approach. When their defenses are gone, we will bombard their military installations from orbit. After that, they will have no choice but to surrender." "Yes, Admiral," Taemin replied. But as the Dominion fleet moved closer to Earth, something unexpected happened. Sensors detected new contacts. Lots of them. Haewon checked her displays 3 times to make sure. "Admiral, we are reading multiple new ships. They are coming from the planet and from their orbital shipyards. Count is 200 vessels. No, 300. The number keeps increasing." "Impossible," Jiho said. "We destroyed most of their fleet 2 weeks ago. They cannot have built new ships that quickly." But the sensors did not lie. Hundreds of human ships were taking positions throughout the solar system. They were not identical to the ones that had fought before. These were different designs. Some were larger. Some had new weapon systems. The humans had been busy. On Earth, engineer Da-Yoon worked in a massive factory that had been converted from building cars to building warships. She had not slept in 3 days. None of the workers had. They knew the aliens were coming back with more ships. Humanity needed every vessel they could produce. Da-Yoon studied the wreckage recovered from destroyed Dominion vessels. She analyzed their shield generators, their armor, their weapons. She found weaknesses. The Dominion technology was powerful but old. It had not changed in centuries because they never needed to improve it. The humans, desperate and creative, could exploit that. "Add more kinetic accelerators," Da-Yoon told her team. "Their shields are designed to deflect energy weapons. Solid projectiles at high velocity punch through. Every ship needs at least 6 railguns." The factories worked day and night. Workers volunteered for double shifts. People donated materials. Scientists shared discoveries. The entire human race united with one purpose: survival. Commander Sora commanded the new human defense fleet. She had been a training instructor before the war. Now she led 500 ships in the most important battle in human history. "All ships maintain formation," Sora ordered. "We cannot match them in a straight fight. We need to be smarter. Use the asteroid belt. Use the moons. Make them come to us." The human fleet spread out across the solar system. They hid behind Mars. They positioned themselves in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. They used the terrain of space itself as cover. Admiral Jiho grew impatient. "They are hiding like cowards. Send in 300 ships to flush them out." The Dominion vessels moved into the asteroid belt. It was a tactical error. The asteroids interfered with their sensors. The humans knew this terrain. They had been mining these rocks for decades. Lieutenant Min Seo led a squadron of 12 small fighters. They were fast and maneuverable, barely larger than old Earth aircraft. The Dominion had nothing like them because they relied on massive warships. "Wait for them to pass," Min Seo whispered to her pilots. "Let them think the belt is empty." The Dominion ships moved deeper into the asteroid field. They scanned for enemies but found nothing. Then, on Min Seo's signal, the human fighters attacked from behind. The small craft darted between asteroids, firing missiles and railgun rounds at the Dominion ships. They hit weak points, engine sections, sensor arrays, weapon mounts. Then they disappeared back into the rocks before the enemy could return fire. "Like mosquitoes," Taemin muttered as he watched his ships take damage from enemies they could barely see. The Dominion tried to chase the fighters, but their large ships were too slow. They crashed into asteroids. They lost formation. The organized military force became scattered and confused. Then Commander Sora struck with her main fleet. 500 human warships emerged from behind Mars and attacked the disorganized Dominion vessels from the side. It was perfectly timed. The aliens were facing the wrong direction. The battle near Mars was fierce. Ships exploded on both sides. The space between the planets filled with debris and burning wreckage. But this time the humans had numbers closer to equal, and they had motivation the Dominion could not understand. Pilot Hyunwoo flew a bomber loaded with the most powerful explosive humans had created. It was a suicide mission. He knew that before he launched. His wife and daughter were in a shelter in Seoul. He was fighting for them. Eternal dominance in sight, Hyunwoo said calmly, beginning attack run. His bomber was too small for the Dominion point defense to prioritize. They were focused on the larger human warships. Hyunwoo slipped through the defensive fire. His craft was hit twice but kept flying. He aimed for the flagship's main reactor. For Earth, Hyunwoo said. He crashed into the Eternal Dominance at full speed. The explosion was enormous. The blast ripped through 3 decks and breached the reactor containment. Admiral Jiho's flagship began to break apart. Jiho barely made it to an escape pod before his ship exploded. He watched from the small vessel as his fleet, the greatest armada in Dominion history, fell apart around him. The humans were destroying ships faster than he could count. They fought with a ferocity that seemed impossible. Every time a Dominion vessel destroyed a human ship, 2 more would appear to take its place. Where were they all coming from? Back on Earth, Dayun and her teams were still building, still improving, still sending new ships into battle. The entire industrial capacity of a planet was focused on one goal. The shipyards around Earth produced a new warship every 6 hours. Mars colonies contributed more. Even civilian ships were being armed and sent to fight. Haewon watched her tactical screens in disbelief. "Commander, we have lost 200 ships. The humans have lost approximately the same. But new contacts keep appearing. They have reinforcements. We do not." Taemin made a decision he never thought he would make. "All ships retreat. Fall back to the edge of the system." The Dominion fleet turned and ran. For the first time in 300 years, they fled from battle. The humans did not pursue. They had won the fight, but they were exhausted and low on ammunition. Commander Sora broadcast a message to the retreating aliens. "This is our home. This is our world. You came here thinking we would bow to you. You were wrong. Every species you conquered before us gave up without fighting. We will never give up, never. If you return, we will destroy you. Remember that." In the escape pod, Admiral Jiho listened to those words. He had studied warfare for 100 years. He had conquered dozens of worlds, but he had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that would rather die than surrender. An enemy that grew stronger every time you pushed them back. For the first time in his long life, Jiho felt fear. The Dominion fleet regrouped at the edge of the solar system. They had lost over 400 ships. More than half their force was gone. The survivors were damaged and demoralized. This was supposed to be an easy conquest. Instead, it had become a disaster. Admiral Jiho sat in a temporary command center on one of the remaining dreadnoughts. His face was pale. He had sent a report back to the Dominion Council. Their response had been silence. They did not know what to do either. But while the Dominion waited and debated, the humans acted. Science Officer Jae-hyun had been studying the wreckage of Dominion ships. He focused on their faster-than-light engines, the technology that allowed them to travel between stars in days instead of years. If humans could copy that technology, everything would change. Jae-hyun worked with a team of the brightest scientists from every nation on Earth. They took apart Dominion engines piece by piece. They analyzed the power systems, the exotic materials, the quantum field generators. It was technology far beyond anything humans had created before. But humans had always been good at learning. Good at adapting. Good at taking someone else's invention and making it better. After 3 weeks of constant work, Jae-hyun made an announcement that changed the war. "We have successfully tested a human-built FTL drive," he said to the military command. "It works. We can now travel to other star systems." Captain Bora understood what this meant immediately. "We do not have to wait for them to attack us again. We can take the fight to them." The human leadership made a bold decision. They would not sit and defend Earth. They would go on the offensive. They would hunt down the Dominion fleet and destroy it completely. Then they would find out where the Dominion came from and make sure they never threatened Earth again. Within 2 months, the human fleet had grown to 700 ships. All of them were now equipped with FTL drives. Engineer Da-eun had improved the weapon systems even further. The new human warships were faster and more powerful than the first generation. Captain Bora was given command of the offensive fleet. She stood on the bridge of the flagship Freedom and looked at her crew. They were young and old, men and women from every continent on Earth. They all volunteered. No one was forced to fight. "Our mission is clear," Bora said. "We find the Dominion fleet. We destroy it. Then we find every world they conquered and free them. The Dominion has ruled through fear for 300 years. It ends now. The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed and left the solar system. It was the first time in history that humans traveled to another star. They were going into the unknown, but they were not afraid. Commander Taman watched as human ships appeared in 3 different star systems at the same time. He could not understand how. The humans should not have FTL technology. The Dominion had kept that secret closely guarded, but there they were. Human warships attacking Dominion outposts, destroying supply depots, liberating conquered worlds. The first world freed was called Velros. The Velrosians had been under Dominion control for 80 years. They worked in mines, extracting resources for their conquerors. When human ships arrived and defeated the Dominion garrison, the Velrosians could not believe it. Commander Sora met with the Velrosian leaders. Through translation devices, she explained what had happened. The Dominion tried to conquer Earth. Earth fought back. Now Earth was liberating other species. "You fought the Dominion and won?" a Velrosian elder asked. "No one has ever done that." "We did," Sora replied. "And you can too. Join us. Fight for your freedom. We will teach you how to build ships, how to make weapons. Together we can end the Dominion forever." The Velrosians agreed. So did the next species humans freed. And the next. Within 6 months, 20 liberated worlds had joined the Human Alliance. They all contributed ships, resources, and soldiers. Engineer Dae-Yoon traveled to these worlds, sharing human technology freely. She taught them how to build weapons that could defeat the Dominion. She showed them that the Empire was not invincible. It had weaknesses. It could be beaten. The Alliance fleet grew larger every week. By the end of the first year, it numbered over 3,000 ships. Species that had been enemies, divided by the Dominion's rule, now worked together with a common purpose. Lieutenant Min Seo commanded a mixed squadron of human fighters and Velrosian interceptors. She taught the alien pilots human tactics, how to use speed and agility, how to strike and retreat, how to fight smart instead of just fighting hard. The Dominion tried to respond. Admiral Jiho gathered what remained of his forces. He received reinforcements from the homeworld, but it was not enough. The Empire had grown lazy after centuries of easy victories. They had not built new ships in decades. Their tactics had not evolved. The humans and their allies, desperate and creative, adapted constantly. Every battle taught them something new. Every defeat made them stronger. The war turned into a series of running battles across dozens of star systems. The Dominion retreated closer and closer to their homeworld. They abandoned their conquered territories. They tried to hold their core systems. Hae-Won spoke to Taman in private one day. "Commander, we are losing. The Empire is collapsing. What happened to us?" Taman had thought about this question many times. "We forgot what it means to fight for something. We conquered because we could, not because we needed to. The humans fight for their homes, their families, their freedom. That makes them stronger than any weapon." The Alliance fleet finally reached the Karveth home system. It was a beautiful star system with 3 habitable planets. Billions of Karveth lived here in massive cities. They had never known war. They had never been threatened. Now an armada of 5,000 ships appeared in their sky. Ships from Earth, ships from Velros, ships from 20 other liberated worlds, all of them ready to fight. Captain Bora broadcast a message to the Karveth homeworld. "This is Captain Bora of the Terran Alliance. For 300 years your empire conquered and enslaved other species. You gave them a choice, surrender or die. Now we give you the same choice. Surrender your military. Disband your empire. Accept peace. If you refuse, we will destroy every warship you have. Your people will live, but your empire will end today. You have 1 hour to decide." Admiral Jiho sat in the Dominion Command Center on the homeworld. Around him, the Karveth military leaders argued about what to do. Some wanted to fight. Others knew it was hopeless. Jiho thought about the last year, about the thousands of ships destroyed, about the countless lives lost, about the empire crumbling around them. All because they underestimated one small species on one blue planet. He made his decision. "Send the surrender signal," Jiho said quietly. "The war is over. We lost." The Treaty of Sol was signed aboard Captain Bora's flagship in orbit above Earth. Representatives from 72 formerly enslaved worlds attended. The Karveth Dominion sent Admiral Jiho and Commander Taman as their delegates. They came without weapons, without guards, and without pride. The treaty was simple. The Dominion would release all conquered worlds immediately. They would dismantle their military down to a defense force only. They would pay reparations to the species they had enslaved, and they would open their borders to inspectors from the new Galactic Council. Tae-min signed the document with a shaking hand. 300 years of empire ended with a few words on a page. He looked up at Captain Bora. "I must know," Tae-min said. "Why did you fight? You could have surrendered. Your losses would have been minimal. Instead, you lost millions of people. Your planet was nearly destroyed. Why?" Bora sat across from him. Her face was tired. She had aged years in the past 2 years of war, but her eyes were still strong. "Because freedom is not something you can take from humans," she said. "We would rather die free than live as slaves. That is who we are. That is who we have always been." "But the cost," Tae-min insisted. "So many died. Entire cities destroyed. Was it worth it?" Bora nodded slowly. "Every life lost was a tragedy. Every family that lost someone will carry that pain forever. But if we had surrendered, we would have lost something worse than life. We would have lost our souls. We would have taught our children that submission is acceptable, that giving up is okay, that some things are not worth fighting for." She paused and looked out the window at Earth below. "Our history is written in struggle," Bora continued. "We fought against nature to survive. We fought against tyranny to be free. We fought against ignorance to understand the universe. Fighting is in our blood, not because we love violence, but because we love what we are fighting for. Our homes, our families, our right to choose our own destiny." Tae-min was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke again, more softly. "We made a mistake coming to Earth, but perhaps it was a necessary mistake. The Dominion had forgotten what real strength looks like. We thought it was ships and weapons. You showed us it is something else, something we lost a long time ago." The Galactic Council was formed 3 months after the treaty. Earth was chosen as one of the founding members, along with representatives from every liberated world. The Council's purpose was to ensure peace, promote cooperation, and prevent any species from conquering others again. Engineer Da-un became the head of the Technology Sharing Initiative. She worked with scientists from dozens of species, including some from the Karveth. Her former enemy, Haewon, became her assistant. At first it was awkward. Haewon had helped plan attacks on Earth. Da-un had built weapons that destroyed Karveth ships. But they found they had more in common than they expected. Both loved science. Both wanted to build instead of destroy. "This energy converter is inefficient," Haewon said one day, looking at human technology. "If you adjust the phase alignment, you can increase output by 15%. Da-un tried it. Haewon was right. "Thank you," Da-un said. "In return, let me show you our adaptive targeting system. It might help with your missile defense." They worked together, sharing knowledge freely. What had been military secrets became common science. The galaxy grew stronger as species learned from each other. Commander Sora became Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. She traveled to the liberated worlds, building relationships and solving disputes. Her reputation from the war helped. Everyone knew she had fought bravely. Everyone trusted her. Lieutenant Min-seo was promoted to admiral and given command of the Interstellar Peacekeeping Force. This was a new military organization that included ships from all council members. Its purpose was to protect, not conquer, to defend the weak, not oppress them. Min-seo trained officers from 20 different species. She taught them human tactics but also human values, honor, courage, sacrifice, but also mercy, compassion, justice. "A weapon is just a tool," Min-seo told her students. "What matters is why you fight and what you fight for. Never forget that." Admiral Ji-ho did not return to military service. He could not. The Karveth people had lost faith in their military leadership. Instead, he became a teacher. He spent his days studying human history and philosophy, trying to understand what made them different. He read about Earth's wars, about their struggles for freedom and equality, about their failures and successes, about their constant drive to improve, to grow, to become better. One day, a young Karveth student asked him a question. "Admiral, you fought against the humans. What were they like?" Ji-ho thought for a moment before answering. "They were terrifying," he said honestly, "not because of their weapons or their ships, but because they never gave up. We destroyed half their fleet and they built more. We attacked their planet and they fought harder. We tried to break their spirit and instead they broke ours." The student looked confused. But how? We were stronger. We had more ships. Strength is not just ships and weapons, Jiho explained. The humans had something we did not. They had a reason to fight. They were protecting their home, their families, their freedom. When you fight for something you truly believe in, you become unstoppable. 5 years after the war ended, Captain Bo-Ra retired from military service. She was only 40 years old, but she had done enough. She wanted to go home, to be with her family, to live in peace. On her last day, the Galactic Council held a ceremony in her honor. Representatives from every species came to thank her. Even Taman attended. He approached her after the ceremony. "Captain Bo-Ra," he said, "I wanted to tell you something. When we first came to Earth, I thought you were primitive, weak, insignificant. I was wrong about everything." Bo-Ra smiled. "We were primitive. We were weak compared to you. But we were never insignificant. No one who fights for freedom is insignificant. You changed the galaxy," Taman said. "Before humans, conquest was normal. The strong ruled the weak. Now we have the Council. We have cooperation. We have peace. All because you refused to surrender." "We did not do it alone," Bo-Ra replied. "Every species that joined us, every soldier who fought, every person who believed we could win, they all changed the galaxy too." Bo-Ra returned to Earth and lived quietly in a small house near the ocean. Sometimes young officers would visit her, asking for advice or wanting to hear stories about the war. She always welcomed them. One day a child asked her, "Were you afraid during the war?" Bo-Ra thought about this. About the battles. About watching friends die. About the moments when defeat seemed certain. "Yes," she said, "I was afraid many times. Fear is natural, but fear does not have to stop you. You can be afraid and still fight. You can be afraid and still do what is right. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing what must be done despite the fear." The galaxy had changed. Species that once bowed before conquerors now stood together as equals. Technology advanced faster as knowledge was shared freely. Trade flourished. Art and culture spread between worlds. Peace, real peace, seemed possible. And at the center of it all was a small blue planet, Earth. The world that refused to kneel. The species that taught the galaxy what freedom truly meant. Humanity had arrived among the stars not as victims or conquerors, but as defenders of liberty. They proved that sometimes the smallest voice can echo the loudest across the cosmos. They showed that determination and courage can overcome any obstacle. The Karveth Dominion had subjugated 72 worlds without resistance. But when they came to Earth, they found something they had never encountered before. They found humans. And that made all the difference.